In the quiet hum of a rainy Friday evening at a small, dimly lit bookstore cafe on the edge of downtown Chicago, where the scent of fresh ground coffee mingled with the musty pages of old novels, Ethan first noticed Maya. She sat alone at a corner table near the window, rain tracing slow rivers down the glass behind her, her dark hair falling in loose waves over one shoulder as she absently flipped through a worn copy of The Bell Jar, her fingers pausing now and then as if the words were speaking directly to something unspoken inside her. The place was half empty, only a few regulars hunched over laptops or nursing lattes, and the soft jazz from the overhead speakers created a gentle cocoon around the room. Ethan had come in to escape the downpour and the endless scroll of his phone, seeking nothing more than a dry seat and a black coffee. But when his eyes landed on her, something shifted, not a dramatic thunderbolt, just a quiet recognition. She looked like someone who carried her own silences carefully, the way he did. He didn't approach right away. Instead, he ordered his coffee, paid, and chose a table 2 away from hers, close enough to feel the pull, far enough to respect the invisible boundary she seemed to hold around herself. For 20 minutes, he read nothing, just sipped slowly and let the moment breathe. He watched the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear when a line struck her, the slight furrow in her brow when something hurt, the way her lips curved in the tiniest private smile at a passage she loved. He felt no urge to interrupt. There was something sacred in watching someone exist without needing to be seen. Then, as if the rain itself had decided the timing, she glanced up. Their eyes met, not by accident, but because the space between them had grown too charged to ignore. Ethan held the look, not intense, not hungry, just steady and soft, like he was saying without words, "I see you here, in this exact moment, and I'm not asking for anything." No smile forced, no head tilt for charm, just presence. Calm, unhurried presence. Maya didn't look away immediately. Her gaze lingered, curious at first, then softening as the seconds stretched. 1 beat, 2, 3. The jazz piano notes filled the quiet between them, and neither moved. No awkward cough, no fidgeting phone check, just the rain tapping the window and the soft clink of a barista's spoon against a mug somewhere far off. In that suspended silence, Maya felt her breathing change, deeper, slower, as if her body remembered how to relax after years of bracing. Her shoulders eased down an inch she hadn't known they were carrying. A small, genuine warmth bloomed in her chest, not from anything said, but from the simple fact that someone was looking at her without demand, without agenda. Her fingers loosened on the book. She set it down gently, open-faced, as if giving the moment permission to stay. Ethan still didn't speak. He simply nodded once, barely perceptible, and let the silence hold them both. It wasn't empty. It was full of everything unsaid, yet understood. She felt safe in it, seen in a way that didn't require explanation or performance. After what might have been a full minute, or 5, time had softened. She tilted her head slightly, a question in her eyes. Ethan answered with the faintest upward curve of his lips, not a grin, just acknowledgement. Then he rose slowly, deliberately, carrying his half-full mug as he closed the distance to her table. Not rushing, each step measured, giving her every chance to close off if she wanted. She didn't. He stopped a respectful distance away, close enough for conversation but not crowding. "Mind if I sit?" he asked, voice low and even, like he was asking the rain for permission too. Maya looked up, her eyes still carrying that softened light. "Only if you promise not to talk too much," she said, a tiny spark of humor in her tone. He chuckled softly, quiet, genuine, and pulled out the chair opposite her. "Deal." He sat, set his mug down, and for a long moment they simply existed across from each other. No immediate barrage of questions, no nervous filling of space, just the rain, the jazz, and the comfortable quiet that wrapped around them like a shared blanket. Eventually, she spoke first. "You looked like you were reading the same page for 20 minutes. "I was," he admitted, "but I wasn't reading the book." She raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Then what?" "You," he said simply. No flirtatious wink, no over-the-top line, just honest. Maya felt her cheeks warm, but not from embarrassment, from something deeper, warmer. "That's bold." "Or honest," he countered gently. "I figured silence was better than a bad opener." She laughed then, a soft, surprised sound that lit up her face. "Fair. Most guys lead with something cheesy." "I'm not most guys," he said, and for once it didn't sound like a boast, just fact. They talked after that, slowly, in fragments, about the book she was reading. She loved Plath's rawness, but hated how it made her feel exposed. About the rain, she found it calming. He said it reminded him of childhood drives with his mom. About nothing and everything. But more than the words, it was the pauses that built something real. When one story ended, neither rushed to start another. They let the silence settle, comfortable, magnetic. In those quiet spaces, she felt her guard slip further, her posture opening, her foot accidentally brushing his under the table and not pulling away. Hours passed unnoticed. The cafe emptied. The barista started stacking chairs, but left their corner alone, sensing the fragile magic happening there. Maya told him about moving to Chicago after a bad breakup, how she'd built walls so high she sometimes forgot what it felt like to let someone close. Ethan listened, really listened, his gaze never wavering, soft but unwavering, like an anchor. "You make silence feel safe," she said at one point, almost to herself. He tilted his head. "Good, because I like the sound of yours." When the barista finally approached with a polite, "We're closing in 10, they both startled slightly, as if waking from a dream. Maya looked at Ethan, something vulnerable and hopeful in her eyes. "Walk me to my car?" she asked. "Of course." Outside, the rain had eased to a drizzle. They walked side by side under her umbrella, shoulders brushing now and then. At her car, she turned to him, keys in hand, but didn't unlock it yet. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for not rushing." He stepped closer, just enough, and held her gaze again. That same soft, present look. "Thank you for letting me stay in the quiet with you." She rose on her toes then, slow and deliberate, and pressed a gentle kiss to his cheek. Not passionate, not desperate, just grateful, tender. When she pulled back, her eyes were shining. "Text me when you get home?" she asked. He smiled, real, warm. "Promise." As she drove away, Ethan stood in the drizzle a moment longer, feeling the warmth she'd left on his skin. He hadn't chased, hadn't performed. He'd simply been there, slow, steady, silent when it mattered, and something had melted between them, soft and irreversible. Days turned to weeks. They met again, same cafe, same corner table. Conversations grew deeper, silences grew richer. He learned her favorite songs, the way she hummed when nervous, how her laugh started small then bloomed. She learned his quiet strength, the stories behind the faint scar on his hand, how he found peace in early mornings and old vinyl records. One evening, months later, as autumn leaves skittered across the sidewalk outside, they sat on a park bench watching the sunset over the lake. No words for a long stretch, just hands intertwined, breathing in sync. Maya turned to him. "You know, that first night when you just looked at me and didn't say anything?" He nodded. "That was when I knew," she whispered. "Not when we talked, when we didn't have to." Ethan squeezed her hand. "Me too." In the golden light, she leaned into him, head on his shoulder, and they sat in the most perfect silence yet, one filled with everything they'd built, word by word, pause by pause, gaze by gaze. And in that quiet, their hearts had found home.